Psychosexual development theory. Sigmund Freud, an Austrian neurologist born in 1856, is often referred to as the father of modern psychology. He found psychoanalysis as a way of listening to patients and better understanding how their mind works. Ang psychoanalysis ay gumagamit ng mga teknik tulad ng free association, dream interpretation, at transference upang maunawaan at ma-resolve ang mga unconscious na mga konflikto at trauma. It was considered as the most controversial theories of personality. According to Freud, children's pleasure-seeking urges are focused on a different area of the body called an erogenous zone. At each of the 5 stages of development: oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Bawat stages ay may bahagi ng katawan ng involved. Kapag nagkaroon ng problema sa bawat stages, maaari magkaroon ng fixation at ang fixation ay iba-iba kada stages. This psychosexual energy or libido, sexual energy, is said to be the driving force behind a person's behavior. Let us get into the details of Freud's psychosexual development theory. The oral stage, age range birth to 1 year, erogenous zone, mouth. The oral stage is the first stage of Sigmund Freud's theory of psychosexual development, occurring from birth until approximately 18 months. During the oral stage, a baby's libido or innate pleasure-seeking energy is focused on the mouth. Ito sa oral ang involved na parte ng katawan ay ang bibig at ang importanteng event naman ay ang breastfeeding. The oral stage, the baby derives immense satisfaction from engaging in oral activities such as sucking, biting, breastfeeding, and chewing various objects, satisfying their inherent desires. During the oral stage, the baby gets much satisfaction from putting all sorts of things in its mouth to satisfy the libido. Too much and little gratification can result to oral fixation. This condition involving a person who has an unconscious obsession with their mouth. He theorized that experience during the oral stage significantly influenced personality development. For instance, he suggested that the child underfed or frustrated during feedings might become pessimistic, envious, and suspicious, although on the other hand, the child who is overfed or overly gratified could become optimistic, gullible, and full of admiration. Hindi maganda sa sobra sa breastfeed at hindi rin maganda na kulang, dapat tama lang, dapat sakto lang. He also linked oral behaviors to specific personality types in adulthood. For example, a person fixated on the oral stage may engage in excessive eating, smoking, nail biting, or becoming overly talkative, symbolizing the continued fulfillment of oral needs. Kapag nagkaroon ng fixation sa oral stage, maaari magkaroon ng oral aggressive or kaya naman ay oral retentive. Pag sinabi nating oral aggressive, ito ay nangyayari kapag ang isang bata ay sobra sa breastfeed at ang oral retentive naman kapag ang bata ay kulang sa breastfeed. Ang ilan sa mga senyales kapag may oral aggressive ang isang bata ay kinakagat niya ang kanyang mga kuko, at kapag may oral retentive naman ay isang bata maring ang ilang senyales ay grabe siya manigarilyo, grabe siya minom at grabe kumain. Ang pangalawa naman ay anal stage. Age range 1 to 3 years old, erogenous zone, bowel and bladder control. During the anal stage, the libido becomes focused on the anus and the child derives great pleasure from defecating. This is the stage where you, as a child, have to learn to control your bodily needs so that you may develop a sense of accomplishment and independence. He believed this type of conflict tends to come to head in potty training, in which adults impose a restriction on when and where the child can defecate. The way parents approach toilet training can lead to two outcomes. Early or harsh potty training can lead to the child becoming an anal retentive personality who hates mess, is obsessively tidy, punctual, and respectful of authority. When will become adult, they become stubborn and tight-fisted with their cash and possessions. This is all related to the pressure of holding on their feces when toddlers and their mommies insist they get rid of it by placing them on the potty until they perform. Number 2, the anal expansive personality underwent a liberal toilet training regime during the anal stage. In adulthood, the anal expulsive is the person who wants to share things with you. They like giving things away. In essence, they are sharing their sheets. An anal expulsive personality is also messy, disorganized, and rebellious. Ang ikawalang stage naman ng psychosexual theory na tinatawag na anal stage, ang evolved na parte ng katawan ay anus. Ang important event naman ng toilet training, kumbaga tituruan ng mga bata kung paano dumumi at kung saan tamang umihi katulad sa unang stage o oral stage. Dito hindi rin pwedeng sobra, hindi rin pwedeng kulang. Dapat tama lang at sakto lang. Pag nagkaroon ng fixation dito sa anal stage, may dalawang posibleng mangyari. Ang una ay anal expulsive kapag kulang sa turo at ang ikalawa naman ay compulsive pag sobra naman sa turo. Under ng anal expulsive, ang isang bata ay maaaring marumi o kaya naman ay disorganized sa kanyang mga gamit. Kapag naman anal compulsive, sobrang linis, sobrang organized, at karaniwang mayroong obsessive compulsive o yung pagiging OC. Ibig sabihin, may konting dumi lang, ay konting pagkakamali lang, ay hindi makapag-focus o nawala na ng focus. The phallic stage, age range 3 to 6 years, erogenous zone, genitals. This period is marked by the child's libido or desire, focusing on their genitals as the primary source of pleasure. In this stage, children become increasingly aware of their bodies, exhibiting a heightened interest in their own genitals and those of the opposite sex. Their understanding of anatomical sex differences begins to form, sparkling in a complex mixture of emotions, erotic attractions, rivalry, jealousy, resentment, and fear, collectively termed the Erodirus complex in boys and the Electra complex in girls. This period of conflict is resolved through identification, where children start adopting the characteristics of their same-sex parent. He also believed that girls experience a penis envy. Instead, he theorized that unresolved conflicts during this stage could potentially lead to future issues such as sexual dysfunction, problems with gender identity, or difficulties in forming relationships. If fixation occurs during this stage, Freud suggested it may lead to various issues in adulthood. He suggested that fixations at this point could lead to an adult personality that are overly vain, exhibitionistic, and sexually aggressive. In men, phallic fixation might result in anxiety about sexual performance, the need for reassurance and validation, or a tendency to be overly assertive or aggressive. In women, fixation at the phallic stage could lead to a desire to dominate men and a rivalry with other women, or the need for male attention of approval. Dito sa phallic stage, pag nagkaroon ng fixation, dalawang maaaring mangyari para sa mga lalaki at para sa mga anak na babae. Ito ay tinatawag na Oedipus complex at Electra complex. Oedipus complex kapag ang anak na lalaki ay nagkakaroon ng special na pagtingin sa kanyang sariling nanay, at Electra complex naman kapag ang anak na babae ay nagkakaroon naman ng special na pagtingin sa kanyang tatay. Kapag hindi nalagpasan ng batang stage na to, maaaring maging asexual. Kapag sinabi nating asexual, kabaligtaran lamang ito ng bisexual. At kung ang bisexual nagkakagusto sa parehas na babae at lalaki, kapag asexual naman, ibig sabihin nito hindi nagkakagusto sa babae at lalaki.
The latency stage. Age range 6 years old to puberty, erogenous zone, sexual feelings are inactive. The latency stage or latent period. In this stage, Freud believes sexual impulses are repressed, leading to a period of relative calm. During this stage, children's sexual impulses become suppressed and no further psychosexual development occurs. The focus shifts to other pursuits such as education, social relationships, and other skills necessary for successful adult life. Children focus on developing social and intellectual skills, including schools, friendships, and hobbies instead of sexual or romantic interest. Kumbaga, ang latent period ay ang yugto ng pag-unlad sa psychosexual development, kung saan ang sexual na damdamin ng bata ay tila nawawala o hindi gaanong aktibo. Ito ay nagaganap sa yugto ng middle childhood, kung saan nagiging mas focus ang bata sa ibang gawain at pagpapalawak ng social skills. He thought most sexual impulses are repressed during the latent stage, and sexual energy can be sublimated towards schoolwork, hobbies, and friendships. Much of the child's energy is channeled into developing new skills and acquiring new knowledge, and play becomes largely confined to other children of the same gender. An example of this stage would be a child who engage in hobbies and interests rather than sexual activities. Kung baga mas nagfo-focus yung mga bata sa ibang mga gawain gaya ng mga paglalaro sa labas, pagsiselfon, kaysa sa mga sexual na mga aktibidad. According to Freud, unresolved conflict or issues during this stage can lead to problems later on. For instance, if a child fails to make strong social connection or falls behind academically during this stage, they may struggle with feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, and social isolation in adulthood. Halimbawa, yung isang bata, bumagsak sa kanyang exam kahit nag-review siya, pwede niyang damdamin yun, and pwede siya magkaroon ng anxiety, ma-stress siya, and pwede niya magdala sa kanyang paglaki. The genital stage, age range, puberty to death, erogenous zone, maturing sexual interest. During this stage, the libido re-emerges after its latent period and it's directed toward peers of the other sex, marking the onset of mature adult sexuality. Kung baga, sa yugtong ito, ang pangunahing focus ay ang pagbuo ng mas mature at malusog na relasyon sa ibang tao, partikular sa romantikong aspeto ng buhay. Ang pagpapakita ng interes at pagbibigay ng oras sa iba't ibang tao, lalo na sa romantikong konteksto, ay mahalaga sa genital stage. An example of this stage would be a teenager who begins to experience sexual attraction and begins to explore their sexuality. As they mature physically, they develop deeper romantic interest and sexual attraction towards others. These feelings may lead to their first romantic relationship or perhaps a crush on a peer. The teenager might also learn about sexual education and understand the importance of consent and safe sex. Fixation and conflict may prevent this, with the other consequence, and sexual perversions may develop. For example, fixation at the oral stage may result in a person gaining sexual pleasure primarily from kissing and oral sex rather than sexual intercourse. According to Freud, if individuals have unresolved conflicts or issues during this stage, it can lead to problems such as sexual dysfunction, difficulties forming healthy relationships, or other emotional problems. Conclusion: Freud's psychosexual stage are an important historical model that led to many improved theories of personality today.